Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Stone. I'm your host, Robert Rungan, and today I am gathered with Adam Lucerne from Divergent. Adam, how are you doing this morning?
Good, man. Really good.
I appreciate you for being on the show. We've got a great lineup here because we're going to be talking about improving your custom audiences on Facebook and Google, your lookalike audiences, your retargeting campaigns, and we're going to show you the most effective ways to decrease your ad costs across all campaigns using match rate optimization, plus a few extras. That's coming up next on Behind the Stone. Welcome back to the Suck and Stone channel, where e-commerce brands, agencies, and do-it-yourselfers receive tips, tricks, and tutorials to improve strategy, growth, and operations every week. So be sure to subscribe. Just click the red subscribe button right below, or click on our channel page to see more videos. Adam, we're going to be talking about how to massively increase your match rate on Facebook and Google to crush hyper-targeted campaigns. Can you tell our audience what they're going to learn today in our podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So match rate optimization is something that I think it's a term we've kind of coined over the past year or so. Really what it's going to be looking at is taking, the match rate of Facebook and Google and massively increasing it so that your audiences perform better. We've seen costs decrease by up to 50, even 80%, literally just adding a few different, tips in terms of like how to actually increase the match rate.
That's absolutely incredible, because that transitions us perfectly right into what we're going to be talking about. So say you've built a successful e-commerce business, maybe you're struggling with retargeting or custom audiences as the match rate across Facebook and Google is below average after the iOS 15 update, which is making it next to impossible to execute hyper-personalized retargeting, custom audiences, and even scaling those ads. So first things first, we're going to talk about all the things that you need to consider when thinking about what are the most recent changes to the Facebook algorithm. Adam, can you speak to that? Do you have any examples that you could provide?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is, particularly after iOS 15, Facebook's match rate, it can range anywhere. It's usually on the low end of like 25%. So what's crazy is, say for an example, if you're a big company like Fiverr, right, who has tons of SKUs or different products, or pretty much just any e-commerce company that's relying heavily on retargeting, which is most, right, because it's all about breaking even on the front end and then getting retargeting on the back end. So if your match rate is like below 25%, that means only 25% of the people that land on your website you can actually retarget. So that's why post iOS update, everybody's having to do very broad retargeting audiences. It's not very segmented, so ROAS is going down, and lookalikes have been really terrible lately, ever since like updates and things like that, because the audience is just not big enough. So I think the match rate really is just it was just really declining even before iOS update, but after iOS update it was just ridiculous for some of these e-commerce companies.
So speaking about the iOS update, can you speak to that? What were the changes that you saw in iOS 14 and iOS 15? Was there any big changes, anything that advertisers should be aware about, anything that anybody needs to know?
Yeah, I think obviously tracking attribution was huge, because you could know where your sales are coming from for certain ads. But not only that, it's not only the fact that you couldn't see where the sales are coming from, but Facebook just couldn't learn, right? So optimization was just so much harder after the iOS update. So what we looked at doing in what we call, I guess, the lab, is we have certain budget that we allocate and we work with certain different partners. And, we're spending a lot of money per day just on testing stuff and just trying to like break certain systems and get it going. But I think the biggest thing was coming down to, one, it was like Facebook just wasn't learning enough from the audiences and from the ads. So particularly with lookalike audiences, custom audiences, and scaling, it was just really, really hard. Particularly when, you only getting like 25% of the data that you think you're getting.
You bring up a really good point there, because it's important to be able to have that data to match it, and that brings us into a perfect transition here. So what are the things that e-commerce business owners should know about increasing their match rate to have cheaper ad costs?
So I think the first thing would be, if you actually, look at some of the documentation of Facebook, it tells you like what they're looking for. you can go into the pixel section, and the same with Google as well. It's probably just in a different area, but if you go into the pixel section, go to your settings, you'll be able to actually see like the parameters that they look for and increase your match rate. Just having things like your first name, last name, email, gender, date of birth, just stuff like that, that you could actually just, so in terms of purchases, if you add that in your form and make sure you're pushing those parameters to Facebook, that will massively increase your match rate. So really it's things like that. And it's knowing what parameters you need to fill. Then it's figuring out how to get the data out and send it to Facebook. I think the biggest thing, and a lot of people don't understand or realize, is if you send data directly to Facebook or directly to Google, a lot of the times it's going to reject it. So if you actually go into Facebook, right now, and you look at errors in your pixel, you'll be able to see that if you have someone's name or, certain pieces of data inside the URL, which is usually how, pass things across, it will have to, it can't accept it. So what you need to do is you actually need to use what we call a CDP, which is a client data platform or customer data platform. And what this will do is it will encrypt the data, like it will hash it for you. So what you can do is you can send all this data to a CDP, and then you can send that CDP, back to Facebook, Google, wherever, and it encrypts the data so it accepts it. So that's how we've been getting around that. And yeah, you literally just implementing it. We've seen incredible results without touching the ads, anything, just increasing the match rate, because the audiences, just everything just kind of gets better.
It's absolutely incredible. So, do you have any examples that you could provide, like maybe a campaign that you're running, or just some data to show people that maybe listening or watching right now exactly what you guys are doing and how you're increasing the metrics that you're looking for, or increasing conversions and increasing that audience size and reach and lowering the ACoS?
Yeah, I think one of the best examples would be recently. We were dealing with a client, and this is one of our lab clients, and they're spending about $10,000 a day. And we just did a few adjustments, and the CPA was halved. It was 50% less, literally just by increasing the match rate. And that was just done by pulling certain parameters, and then sending that back to Facebook. Literally doing that, 50% drop in CPA. It was incredible, and that was especially because the retargeting audiences were performing as they were meant to. A lot of the times retargeting these days, especially, post iOS 15, it's just been terrible. It's just so expensive, and you can't go hyper segmented. So that things like that get me excited, because we didn't adjust the ads. We didn't do anything. All we did was increase the match rate and halved ad cost. So that was exciting.
That's absolutely amazing. So what did the client say whenever you showed them these metrics?
Yeah, no, he was stoked. I think one of the biggest things is so many people didn't really even understand that, like, oh my gosh, you can increase the match rate. Like a lot of people, there's so many things that you can just do to your ad account that will be like a moat that you can use to be able to beat the competition. That is, it's not a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? Like, this could be a couple hours to get us set up, like 2 hours to get us set up, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, you make a great point there, because actually we run some retargeting campaigns here at Sunken Stone, and recently with the changes to Google, for example, one of the things that we've noticed is that we're having to provide more parameters for those specific email addresses, because we are using the custom audiences. So we're having to use things like country and zip code, because they have to be able to match that particular user, and you can't skip around that data either, because if you upload just a list of, say, all USA, all one zip code, you're not going to get any matches.
All right, so can you see my screen?
Yes, I can definitely see your screen.
So this is just I guess a diagram in terms of how this would look. Essentially what will happen is when somebody comes to your website, what you can do is you can send that directly to a CDP, right? And that's going to send it to Facebook and Google. I think the biggest thing is, let's say, you have a website and you're getting 1,000 hits per day, right? Like, obviously your match rate increases the more people go in deep into your funnel, because they give their name, their number, their address, their shipping information, things like that. But on view content events, for an example, or just page views, those are the people that you really want to retarget, right? Or people that they didn't really put that much information in. So To solve that problem, what we did was we actually developed our own identity graph. So we have a data company, and essentially what we do is, we over time we built our own identity graph where we're tracking 400 million people, 5,000 behaviors per person. So with that identity graph, what we do is we do identity resolution. So when somebody lands on a website, what we do is we take a key piece of information, like, maybe it's the cookie IP, different parameters. We take that, we ping it back to the identity graph, and we resolve who that person is. So this is one of our brands. This is actually a healthcare company that we run. If you can see here, it's just a little line of code that we put on the website, just like so. There's this little line of code here, and as long as we have that line of code, we can resolve their identity. So if you look here, this is that particular site, and you can see you have everybody's email, all that. I mean, you might need to blur that out just in case, but I don't think you can see like the exact person, but you can actually see like all the data about every single person, or not every single person. I would say about 40 to 60% of the people that land on the site. So what we do is we take that through what we call an SV pixel, and then we give that to a CDP, and then we give that to Facebook. So yeah, it's doing that. You're able to enrich all of your audiences, and you're just getting so much data to Facebook. So you can do it without doing identity resolution. It's just like, this is how we figured out how to do it with view content events and page views, and like overall, just anybody that lands on the site, how can we be able to match that person up as quickly and as effectively as possible?
That's absolutely incredible. And thank you for sharing that, because, that's a little hack that most advertisers aren't using right this single second, right? Like, just a simple line of code added to your website makes all the difference in the world. Like you said earlier, 50% decrease in cost per acquisition. That is absolutely massive for advertisers. So let's say that we're looking to massively decrease costs on an ad account by increasing the match rate. Can you show me any data or best practices to be able to increase that match rate and lower your CPAs?
Yeah, I think in terms of, the first thing to really do is, if you're running an e-commerce store, really, so let's say if you go into the Facebook pixel, if you actually just go into settings and you just make sure the advanced match rate is on, that's like the first thing, so you can collect those parameters. The next thing, if you don't want to have to, use the developer and things like that, is just you go to Google and type in, customer data platform. There's some really interesting ones out there. My personal favorite, and a good friend of mine, Vishnu, from a company called Customer Labs. It's really well priced, and you can get Customer Labs, just literally just put it on the site, and it allows you to just start pulling parameters. So, let's say for an example that you wanted to pull the quantity of products, the color that you use, the product title, just parameters like that. That could be the difference between a 40% and a 60% match rate, which could be the difference between, like a 2 ROAS like between like a 1 ROAS and a 2.5 to 3. So that'd be the first thing. That's like $100 a month, and you can easily just do that. And then if you want to like up the ante, I mean, I'm not sure. Am I able to?
Yeah, you can share
plug it. All right, cool. If you want to, go crazy with it, basically, I think especially in this day and age, of everything that's going on, it's all about first party data, right? So this is our data, our identity graph. So we actually have all our own first party data, and we build our own AI models so that you can do stuff like that. So yeah, it's called intent.io with 3 eyes. And we actually have SV pixels that we sell on here. So you can grab one and then literally just put it onto your website, and then log in and connect to your Zaps or your API. It's super easy. You can just do it via a webhook, and then you can connect it to all these different platforms. And that not only does that enrich your pixel data, but you can actually email those people later on as well. So just things like that, it's not that much cost, and it can dramatically decrease cost per acquisition. But not only that, it just makes everything better because now all your top of funnel is building better audiences. Like it just gives the ad account just this huge upgrade.
Absolutely amazing. And the things that you're doing over at Divergent are really incredible and next level, and brings us into a perfect transition. So what are the things that e-commerce business owners should look for when trying to increase their match rate and hack the algorithm for cheaper or better ads?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's extremely important to just have first-party data, right? So like you can't always rely on cookies and things like that. There's IP blockers, there's updates. So really, the biggest thing I would say is one, get access to a CDP. A lot of people don't even know what CDP is, but it's like Customer Labs, for an example, super well priced, amazing service, and what you can do is you can just upload everything to there, and then you can build like a 360-degree profile on every single user that lands on your website. Facebook also has options where you can integrate your CRM. I would prefer using a CDP, and then yeah, if you want to go crazy with it, check out Intent, because what you can do is you can just get a pixel and you just put it on your website, and now you have the data of 60% of your site visitors. So in terms of email remarketing, retargeting, it's just an absolute game changer. You can 3x sales without touching your ads.
That's really great. In closing, like, do you have any like best practices, tips, tricks, tutorial, anything that you would like people to know in closing before we close this podcast out? I appreciate you for being on the show too.
Yeah, so we have a, I guess we call it the Revenue Growth Lab. Basically, all of our stuff that we learn and all our findings and things like that, we put into our group. I actually have an SOP that I can link up to with everybody, so they can just click it and access the SOP. It's just inside of our group. It's free. You can download it, and you can literally just start right away. It gives you exactly what to do.
That would be really great for people listening to this podcast or watching this video. So I'll leave a link in the description box below the video. I do appreciate you for being on the show. Absolutely incredible, Adam Lucerne from Divergent. You're going to do great things, my friend. I'm so happy to have you. For more great tips on how to determine where you need to be spending your advertising money, be sure to check out the Growth Lab at Divergent, where you'll get the entire match rate standard operating procedure, plus a ton of free extras. You can get that by clicking the links in the description box below this video. So what's your next step? Do all the things that Adam recommended in this podcast. Go back through, check on your ads, check your match rate, install a tracking code, go into the CDN like Adam was talking about. And if that doesn't work, reach out to the team at Divergent. They care. They want to help you solve that problem and get your cost per acquisition down and to reach new audiences and expand your advertising efforts. And if you really want to level up your e-commerce strategy, then watch this video next. It's called 5 Proven E-commerce Marketing Strategies to 10x Your Business. You'll learn insider secrets from Tanner Tozan and CEO Adam Weiler on how to scale 7- and 8-figure e-commerce businesses. Just click on the video and I'll see you on your screen now.